and driving
Yes.
and riding backwards to where it meets the connection up to the top of the, Alone Street.
Okay. Yeah.
And it seemed like it's harder to go south to north and north to south. That doesn't really make any sense because it's, the total energy expended from one level to the next level should be exactly the same. I think it's just that going from south to north, the slopes are just longer. And I'd rather go up a steep slope faster than a long, dragged out slope, slower slope.
It depends on the
Hey,
fast
David.
descent or the slow descent.
We're talking
Hello,
biking.
everyone. Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
David. Boker Tov, or should I say good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm in Muncie, New York. So we're getting cloudy. It's gonna rain later on today.
Oh, okay. Well, so it's like what? Like it's 1 o'clock?
It's 1 o'clock my time here. So you guys at 8 o'clock. It's unusual.
Hello, Ruben.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay, yeah.
So
Are we recording already?
Yeah, I just put recording
Yep.
on. Yes, we are recording. Let me take my little, I don't know, guys, I'll do my 14 minutes presentation. I don't know if you guys had a chance to review my previous note because it's a little difficult for me to email from here, as you would imagine. I'm not on the same computer, connections usually dependent on the hotspot, you never know. But do something. David, I sent in a couple of emails because there were several files. I couldn't attach them. Did you get any of that?
The YouTube video but I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, me neither.
But you got the connections, right? You got the email.
I guess so.
Okay. Okay. Let me go over this one more time. This is interesting. The reason I kept looking for it because Adrian asked this question. Adrian many times asked that, how does Rashi know? And many people, I'm starting my 14 minutes now. So you guys give me a heads up when I'm at the 13th minute so I can kind of condense that. So basically, I'm also, and oh, here's Menachem Mendel coming in. We'll just say hi to him. Menachem Mendel, hello.
Manishma.
Hello, Mindy.
How's it going?
Kol Tov. I'm in Muncie, New York. So I'm right from the stronghold of the Satmars. I was in Satmar shul for Shabbat. So I'm all saturated with the Shabbat spirit. Very nice. We stay.
Don't speak too loud.
Beard.
Huh?
They didn't cut off half your beard.
No, I had a great time. I tell you, when I see you guys, I tell you, it changed my perception of the ultra-Orthodox guys a lot. Because I was under the perception that Orthodox, like Satmar, to say, if you live in Israel, you're a sellout Zionist, what you're doing there, run from this place as fast as possible. These guys are just against the Judaism, against Torah. None of that. They're very nice guy. They accepted me very warmly. I had a great time on Shavuot. They joked, we smiled, we talk about Torah, we talk about other things. I had a great time. We feel very comfortable and very warm. So, but
Yeah, they've changed a lot. My son-in-law runs a Chabad house in Fort Worth, Texas, and some Satmars that worked at a shoftim at the local meat processing plant where he worked. Sometimes they arranged to get donations to pay for his mikvah.
Yeah. So very nice people, and I felt, I wasn't dressed like them. They have all the strummels, big fur hats, and fur coats like this. So when you look at them, I feel like, if I would open up the prayer book with the wrong side hand, they'll immediately like thunder and lightning and incinerate me for being the blasphemer. Not like this. I said, guys, is it okay? And the guy said, don't worry about it. That's fine. I said, my shirt is not tucked in. Is it okay? He said, don't worry about it. Enjoy it. Have a good time. That's very good. But they're very learned. And I also thought that Satmars kind of like praying all the time, don't learn. They learn Talmud. They learn Tanya. Even though I say, you guys learn Tanya? You're not Chabad. And the guy says, no, I go to Chabad every so often. Chabad right across the street. I have good friends there. We don't Tanya. So it changed my perception of the stereotype that I thought about. Anyway, let me just get to the point of my presentation to you guys. And I will need David's help, but don't interrupt me yet. I will need you later because a lot of things I will say probably have some flaws and gaps I will need to fix. But I'm going to tell you what I want. So Adrian always challenged that, saying, listen, all these rabbis, they just dream something up. If Rashi wants to say that you go on the street, you have to go right. Or Rashi says, no, you have to go left. How does Rashi know? What makes him such a genius? So I also asked this question, how does he come up with it? And I came to a conclusion, as I'll just present to you right now. Rashi does one of the three things. Sometimes Rashi just transmits his tradition. My teacher told me that, and that is what I know. That's relatively rare, but he does it sometimes. In another number two situation, Rashi is saying, I am taking it from Pesachim 93b. And why? Then I asked a question. Why is Rashi telling me reference to Pesachim 93b? I can't. Just close the door, honey. I can't. I'm limited here. Sorry. My wife is telling me I'm yelling and screaming. But this is an unusual situation. Not much I can do. I try to speak a little bit quieter. Okay. So, okay. So why Rashi is doing this? I said to him, I'm going to be reading Pesachim 93b. I can come to the same conclusion. You don't need to point to me. That's what 93b says. He said, but don't forget, in the old days, especially when, let's say, children learn sometimes, they're learning Mishnah without Gemara. It's just a Mishnah book. So if somebody not very learned, not very educated, learning Mishnah. And the guy learning Mishnah, he doesn't understand. He doesn't have a Gemara right today in the Talmud to have a Mishnah and Gemara. But in the old days, people learn Mishnah. So the guy says, when you're learning Mishnah, and it kind of a little bit different.
You want to tell me they had Mishnah without Gemara? I think all of that came down to Moses at once.
No, but yeah, but
there you go.
But even today, there are editions of books. You can get books of Mishnah without Gemara. So some people learn Mishnah. I mean, I had a copy like this. So the guy said, practically speaking, if the guy is learning Mishnah, and it's a little bit difficult. Rashi says, listen, I'm not like rattling my medals, but I've been studying Torah for many years. And I think that when you left, Nelly, we're reading through this Mishnah, you might be like confused. What the heck is going on? So I'm telling you in advance, if you look up in the Gemara in 93b, that will explain to you. So Rashi is just helping me, doesn't present, if I'm a genius, I can figure on my own, but Rashi said not everybody is geniuses. So I just give you a little help. That's it, like a teacher. That's the second situation. The third situation, the Rashi actually derives it from the Torah, from Kabbalah, from all sorts of sources, from prophets. And how does he derive it? It's very interesting. Though I went through derivations, I came to a conclusion. In any of these methods, Rashi doesn't simply just sit here walking through this winery, having an extra glass of wine, getting tips and says, hey, Eureka, I think that's what it is. No, Rashi doesn't do this his own conclusion, because that will be disrespectful. He is always using, now we can argue with his derivations, and maybe the rules that he's using might not be, maybe he's taking from Torah, and Torah really was not given to Moshe on Sinai, but was written down 1,000 years later. If somebody takes that position, then all bets are off. Now, of course, then Rashi might as well close the door and go home to his winery. But assuming that the Torah is divine, the Moshe is digging the Torah, assuming that portion, then this is what Rashi does. I'll show you what I did. I go on screen. Let me just put a share screen. How do I do share? Share screen. Share. Okay, share. And let's see. Okay. You see the pictures on the screen, guys? They're coming up, right?
Yeah.
That's first. Let me get a couple of slides. That's a picture of the Nikolsburg Synagogue in Monsey, Nikolsburg. That's a synagogue. That's just for interest. That's how I went. This is what the guys are studying there. And this is me. Now, they didn't throw me out for not having a white shirt. Okay. then this is all the books, all over the books. These guys are learning this all day long. And this is what I took. I took 3 books. One of them is Torah. Another one is a portion, like a only Torah on the Numbers, and then also Gemara. So I opened the books, and this is what I learned. First, right here, this is cool. And don't interrupt me yet, David, but sometimes jump in if I don't say the right word here. Right here, they talks about if somebody misses Pesach, we all know. If he's too far, if he's Tamei, or if he is misses, or he is too far, if he's in Norway, or he's in North Pole, he can't come to the Korban Pesach, he can make it up the next month, which is second Pesach. Now Rashi is saying, what's too far? If the guy is in Haifa, is that too far? Is that too far? If the guy is in Norway or in America, is that too far? So Rashi is saying the definition of the far, and now he gives a comment here. I'll give it for Dave to read in Hebrew, you see, or bederech rach, and then he's referring what it says, blah blah blah, references about the dots he's talking about, and his references Pesachim 93, right?
Okay.
I cannot. If I go outside, how am I going to go there, honey? I'm going to yell, go in the balcony. Just give me 20 minutes, I'll be done. Okay. I'll be a little quiet. My wife is yelling at me. Okay. So anyway, so he goes to 93. He goes 93, Rashi says. So at this point, Adrian would say, oh, what does he know? So, okay, first of all, it's not his 93. Now let's go to 93. So go into 93 here. And here also, David, like this is a debate between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Akiva saying, how far is far? It's from Jerusalem to Modin. And Rabbi Eliezer is saying, it's from Jerusalem, if you're in the temple, as soon as you go outside the temple door, that's too far. So the guy was coming from Haifa. He was slapping to whisk his goat or his lamb to make a Pesach offering. He comes in and it's 11:59, 12 o'clock, 12:01. He's 5 meters away from a temple. Sorry, no office is closed. You missed it, guy. No more donations, no more Pesach. Come next month. So this is what the rabbi is at. And we can talk about more, but that's what I want to give you for the skeleton so I can fit into my 40 minutes, hopefully. So that's what the debate they talk about. Now, how do they derive? How does Rabbi Akiva saying it's to Modin and not to some? How did he get that from? Why Modin? Why not Ramat Bet Shemesh or Ashkelon? Okay, and why? So then they go to this mind-boggling rule that I found. I go to if you go back to this word where it says, where's the word Rahoka? David, is it
What? What?
Rahok, far, Rahok. No.
Far is rachok.
Right. But if you look in the word Rahok, Resh, Het, Kuf, He, right?
Mm.
In the Torah, of course, in this case, in the script that we printed, all vowels, dots and dots all shown. But if you open up the Torah scroll, which I don't have a copy with, you will see that there's a one dot in the scroll itself where we don't put any dots, but there's a dot under the letter He. Under the letter He, there's one dot. So now, bear with me. Rachoka is 4 letters. One of the letters has a dot. Now, keep that in mind for a minute. Just stay with me. I go next one. Go to Brishit. And in Brishit, look at this word, guys. This is just mind-boggling mind. Elav. This is angels come to Abraham and saying, where is your wife Sarah, right?
Yes.
V'amru, and they told him, that says him, right? Notice dot, 1, 2, 3 dots. There's a dot over Aleph, dot over Yud, and dot over Vav. So the rule is,
Okay.
And that rule itself, I'm not going to cover because I'm going to go crazy to this. I can't even grasp it yet. That maybe next time we'll discuss it. But the rule is, it's just similar to your methodical rules of Rabbi Ishmael. The rules like this. And by the way, these dots on the scroll are not very common. Usually, most of the letters don't have anything on there. But sometimes,
Right. So what's the dot for?
okay, Reuven says, okay, I can't bear the suspense. Tell me. Okay, the rule is this. And this is the Rebbe told me. The Satmar Rebbe told me in 2 minutes. I asked him, he told me like this. If there's a word that has minority of dots, let's say the first case was 4 letters and only 1 dot. If there's 1 dot, the dot diminishes the meaning of the word. In other words, rachaka becomes not rachaka, but a little bit far. 1 dot. If the number of dots are less than the number of letters, like 1 of the 4, it's not significant, but it diminishes the word. If the number, like here, 3 dots over 4 letters, majority of the letters have the dot. If that's the case, then we read it in 2 ways. One, we always read Torah the way it's written, Elav, but we also drop the letter that doesn't have a dot. In this case, Lamed goes away, and what's left, Aleph, Yud, and Vav, and this is David will correct me. He said it can be implied that it's the gender change. Talk not to him, but also to her. Almost like Iyo. Talk not Elah, but Iyo. Is it possible to construe that, David?
I've never heard anything like this in my life before.
Neither did I. But let's say assume for now, just for conversation, that will happen. Lamed is dropped, and then the gender changes. So the explanation for this, I'm not going to do the is that when angels came, they asked Abraham, "Where is your wife?" They knew where his wife is, Sarah. They did it in order to increase peace between husband and wife. They imply that how nice that your wife is taking care of the dinner, she's taking care of the business, she's there, she's modest. And Abraham kind of felt, oh, good, he feels good about my wife. Yeah, my wife is very modest, very nice woman. So he made a compliment to Abraham. But they also made compliment when Sarah was listening in. That means that these 3 dots without Lamed means also the sex change, the gender change. Sarah also heard, and she's saying, oh, they're asking Abraham where I am. So my husband knows where I am, and I am a modest woman, and my husband is modest too. He's a good man. So
How does Aleph, Yud, Vav refer to a woman?
This is, David cannot yet explain, you have to think about it, but they say that changes the gender from the masculine to feminine. In other words, the message came not only to Abraham, where is your wife, but to Sarah implicitly, oh, they mentioned this about me to Abraham. That means they're also sending the message to me to know that my husband is a good man, also honest man. So the whole interaction increased the peace and comfort between the husband and wife. Anyway,
Okay.
it's a side comment, but the point is, this rule is majority of the dots bring another interpretation to the word. Minority of the words, like was dot, took it out, diminishes the word. So that now we read it aloud, not too far in Norway, but no further than from here to Modin. Modin is approximately 30,000 amot, roughly 10 miles from Jerusalem. So how would you know it's 10 miles? Well, then another thing, and I don't have a copy of this, but just to tell you, last week, or you guys one parsha behind, right? When you read, in Yitro, when Jews stood by the, that's not last week, when the Jews stood by the bottom of the mountain, they were far from a mountain, right? Because Hashem said, don't come close, you'll die. So they were standing, and the word there like this: Vayomer ha'am mer chok umshe nagish al blah 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 blah. So merachok, that word rachok, far, does not have any dots in the Torah. So that means we can read it only as it is and not to give any other explanations. Now, another point in Gemara, which I'm not going to go into, is that they stood approximately 10 miles away, roughly maybe 7 miles, let's say 10 miles roughly. They stood roughly 10, roughly, don't question me, roughly 10 miles. So there's no other explanation. So 10 miles. So far is 10 miles. More than 10 miles is far, less than 10 is not far. But if the dot is putting on the wood, then it diminishes what means it's less than 10 miles. From Jerusalem to Modin happens to be approximately 10 miles. The question I asked the Satmar Rebbe, but why from Jerusalem to Modin? You can do from Jerusalem to Jericho or to Tzafat or something. He said, that was a common route. People used to travel on kind of today Route 1 from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. So everybody knew where Modin is. So if you tell the guys, I need to get 10 miles, which one? Instead of saying 10 miles, it's like from here to Modin. So a very practical explanation. So to wrap it all, let me go next one. I think I'm coming to my 14 minutes. Okay, hold on. Oh, that's my recording, isn't it? Okay, so to put it all together, I think I'm a little bit expanding my 14 minutes, right? I mean, not 15 or 16 minutes. So basically like this, those rules of dots in the Torah modifies or what either diminishing them or bringing new meaning. That rule is coming from another derivations elsewhere, which I don't know. So Rashi knows this is the rules of the Torah. Using this rule, he then expounds on the word far and explains that this is what it means, how far is far. So I'm done with my presentation. So what my message here, Rashi is not just dreaming up after having a couple of glasses of wine, what he thinks. He is doing thorough analysis of the Torah, and he's using the rules that were known to him, to his teachers, and so forth. Rambam, Ramban, all other Tanaims and Amaraims and Rishonim and all this, they basically also humble people. They don't just sit in a chair falling asleep in front of the fireplace after dinner and thinking, I think actually if you turn the Torah upside down and read it, then Lamed becomes Vav and this becomes, and this is just my idea. They don't do that. They use very thorough analysis. And that is what, when I was talking to Adrian, what Adrian continuously, like in our lesson with Jeff on Wednesday, Adrian, and this is not a criticism to Adrian. Adrian, if you're listening, I'll send you a copy, please. I'm using, this is just the point. They're nothing personal, that when we're questioning how these rabbis, what are they smoking? How they come up with it? I don't believe this Rashi guy. What does he think he knows? He has a big head. I mean, I know it better than Rashi. I don't, Rashi thinks so, I don't. Well, me. No,
I think 11, I think
smart.
Rashi relies heavily on Midrashim, which a lot of people find, iffy.
That's a good point, but even in some point, in this case, he doesn't rely on it. In this case, he goes to Pesachim 93b. 93b. He uses 93b. He uses Brishit. He uses Bamidbar, what I show you, and then using the rules of dots to expound the words and explain. In this case, he didn't go to Midrash. He uses the rules, but sometimes he does use Midrash. But even then, whatever he uses, my point is, he is not coming out on his own hand. This is not like me, who was born in Russia, never was exposed to the Torah, didn't know who Moses was, didn't know what the Chumash was, and then come to after, never been to a synagogue a single time.
Can I ask you a question?
Somebody showed me the book, I said, I don't believe that stuff.
Can I ask a question?
Now you can. I'm done with my 14 minutes.
Okay. On Mount Sinai, when the Torah was given by God to Moses, what sort of Hebrew letters was the original Torah written in?
I tell you, you just took the words out of my mouth, because I asked when the Son Rebbe was telling me, and then of course, how the entourage, they took him and put him somewhere else, but he had like 25 different assistants. And I asked the other guy, I says, how do you know? Because there's a Shumeric alphabet and there's Amorite, there's different letters.
Ashurit
Alphabet. So I said,
no, what you're looking right now at the screen, that's Ashurit. The original Hebrew was in Hebrew letters.
Yes.
Which is a totally different alphabet.
Yeah.
It looks completely different.
but the guy told
And
me,
it sounds completely different.
yeah, and the guy told me, I asked him the same question. And the guy says, you're absolutely right. He says, I'm surprised you know this left. No, he's just joking because, you're asking, but if you want to know that, I will explain to you. If you take the same Torah and you change it into original script, there are two marks not there. I say, can you show me? And the guy says, I cannot show you because I have to go to the class. You can come on Tuesday.
What did he say? If you take the two scripts,
He said there's a similar, there's no matter in which language, in which script the Torah was written, the rules were applied similarly. Maybe instead of dots, it would be circles or triangles or something. There was a different rules, but similar rules. But he said, in order for me to explain why it's not the same, he says you have to come on Tuesday because he's like, the guy said I have to go to class. So it's an explanation for that. But I just don't know it because the guy, I only had like 2 minutes with this guy. He's very busy. But if I live
original Hebrew didn't have any diacritical notes.
the way the letters perhaps were slanted or moved, there was a certain rules the letters was pointing to this. But what is this rules? It was, and then actually the friend that was whom I'm staying, I asked him at a dinner. He doesn't know anything about it, nothing. He just wants to know what time is minute. But I asked him this, and he says to me, Lev, you've been asking this question for 3 days. I don't know the answers, and drainage them call. Don't roll my head. I have no idea. If you want to study it, go to the shul, he says to me, and study with rabbis, and you do it answer. So he couldn't answer because he doesn't know. So there is an answer for that. But he said the answer is so. He said the guy says, listen, Lev, I just want to know what time Mincha is. I want to learn Talmud. I want to learn this. I don't have time for this. He says, you ask me who is Rabbi Abba, because I asked him who is Rabbi Abba from Zohar. He says, why do you need to know this stuff? Why are you so hung up on Rabbi Abba? You don't know who is Rabbi Abba. Just live your life normally. Go shopping, help your wife. Don't screw my brains. But there is answer for that. So I came to the same conclusion. There is answer for that. But I realized how little I know. But there is answer for that. So the question you're asking, David, people know this answer. And the first time I met people here in Muncie that actually know that, I'm just not.
They think they know. They think they know, just like myself. They don't know. They think they know because it's in a book. The thing is that as long as we don't talk, as long as you are not able to speak to an Israelite who lived 4,000 years ago, you will never know. You will only assume.
Maybe.
That's the difference between knowing and assuming.
You may, but I would still like to know the logic. But the logic I just present, at least it's certain logic. And we can say maybe it wasn't the right script, but at least they present all I wanted to
You also, by the way, you also have to remember one of the problems, at least from my point of view, maybe Mandy and Reuven are not going to find this a problem because they are from Chabad. But you have been speaking to someone from a Hasidic group. And maybe you should sometimes, I know it's extremely difficult for you, but maybe talk to someone who is not from a Hasidic group.
He's got you, David.
No, well, I'm not. No. Let's just find someone like maybe go to Netivot when you come back to Israel. Go to Netivot and speak to one of the rabbis there at the Baba Sali Center.
Yeah.
They're not. They are like sort of Mekubalim. They also into Kabbalah, but they're not really Hasidic. It's like maybe go to a Litaim, a yeshiva of Litaim in Jerusalem.
Litvax, yeah.
Yeah, someone who is like, thinks more in more logical
Yes.
ways
But
other than
it is-
Hasidic interpretation.
but
Maybe you will
but-
find completely different interpretations or answers.
David, are you suggesting that Hasidic way of thinking is not logical?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Fascinating.
Guys, let me jump in and say something. Well, what
absolutely.
struck me so interesting, just so interesting that I was so grateful to Adrian because Adrian brings his And when my first reaction, when Andrew mentioned that, like, of course everybody knows it, right? Rashi said it's right. And then when I start thinking of myself, I realized I really don't know that. If I would defend Rashi, Andrew has a point. How do I know? I said, I don't know.
Lev,
I went to a more,
how many minutes do we have left?
we have about 10 minutes, maybe 8.
10. Okay. I want to say something, just 1 minute. Has nothing to do with the subject of right now, so I'll just say it. I just want to recommend something which I think is very important for general knowledge of what's going on in the world today. I would recommend you all to watch a movie I saw today. It's called What is a Woman? Have you
Yeah,
heard
I heard
about it?
about it.
You heard about it?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ruben heard about it.
Is this by Ben Shapiro?
And Matt
Yeah,
Walsh made
exactly.
it.
Produced by Ben Shapiro and presented by Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. Watch
The
it.
leftists tried to do a robotic attack to prevent people from accessing.
What?
Did you hear about that? The leftists did, they hijacked a whole bunch of computers to
Okay.
simultaneously try to make millions, like 20 million attempts to access the movie simultaneously. So
So
people
it
could
falls.
not access the movie.
Yeah. Okay. It's
It's some sort
it's
of
a DDoS attack.
DDoS attack. That's it. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. I didn't. I know. I didn't hear about it, but I'm not surprised. But if you can have access or download it or somehow watch it, it's hilarious. You have to. And don't worry about. There's nothing not kosher. No nudity. No nothing. So it's you have to see this.
What is it called? What's it called again?
This is amazing. It's about. It's called What is a Woman?
Okay.
It's about
What
the
is the woman?
leftist gender insanity. And
Yeah.
he interviews leftist people. And I only saw one clip of this leftist woman who decided her gender is male. And he asked her, what's a woman? She says, I don't know. I'm not a woman. And this is a lady who's a trained psychologist and psychotherapist,
Yeah.
has gone through biology and everything. And she's just lying through her teeth. She's just a phony.
And
It's
these
pathetic.
people, they are doctors and professors. I mean, my God, what's going on? It's amazing. You have to watch this. That's it. That's my recommendation.
It's like being a Stalinist, you have to follow the party line.
Yeah.
And there's swift, harsh retribution for deviating, 1 micron from the party line. And they're all terrified and they're all indoctrinated and they're
Can you get it
robots,
from a YouTube, David?
What?
Can you get it on YouTube?
You can get it on
No.
you can get it on Blaze TV or Daily Wire. It's Ben Shapiro's site.
Yeah.
If somebody
So-
can send me the link, or maybe to us, all of us the link.
There is a trailer on YouTube. But if you want to watch it from the Daily Wire side, you have to pay for a subscription or something. The Blaze TV, I don't know if Ruben has a link. If it's there, I don't know.
No, you have to pay for that too. It's like a Daily Wire, it's a subscription.
Anyway, so continue for this, guys. I thought you would look at that. And like David said, there's a lot of holes in it. We have to question what script was it? We have to question, do you believe in these dots? Where the dots coming from? There's a lot of questions. But at least I didn't want to go there. My purpose was to demonstrate that Rashi is not just dreaming it up. Rashi has solid sources to which he relies. If we question his sources, that's a good point. If we say, how do we know the Torah has these dots? Then of course,
But do we know he did this for every parasha?
I don't know.
Is it like this? Is it like a method? Is it a solid method, or does it? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't.
Well, people have written about Rashi's method. I think somebody made 16 rules he uses for exegesis, but
Well, I was looking, I took in a synagogue, I asked the guy, give me a copy of the Torah. There's a printed Torah, the way it's on a scroll without notes. And I was sitting there and just going through pages trying to find if the dots on other words. And it's very difficult to find because, the script is relatively small. I mean, I was sitting there during the services and just flipping pages to see any other words, but couldn't get it, just too much. Somebody probably had to study. Yes, no.
By the way,
What are you looking for?
my take on it is that these dots, it's interesting that it's in the, it's interesting that you say it's actually on the scroll of the Torah.
Yes.
But I know that these dots from the Siddur, they basically sign what we call a ta'am. It's how you're supposed to sing or to, the melody of your prayer.
So that's different. That's different. Yeah, that's not the.
That's called tagim.
That's not the game. That's not continuation
Or
marks.
ta'amim, yeah.
Yeah, those are special. Oh, until then, I knew there's a special things like Shin and Vav has crowns, like dots, and a couple of more letters have dots. But that is not that. That's something else. These dots are like little circles. They're not quite close to the little bar. You look at next time you open a Torah scroll. Look at this in the Rachok, in the Numbers 9:9. Numbers chapter 9, pasuk 9. Look up next time you open a scroll in that. Look it up. You'll see there's 3 dots only there. Not them. Very few words have it apparently.
Once I buy me a scroll for 100,000 shekels, I will look it up.
No, but when they open, Numbers is coming up. It's coming up soon. When they open it, just ask for Elias. Just you open it, look at it. You can see in there.
Cool.
Ask Gabai.
Okay.
Unroll and show it to you. Anyway, that's what I want. That's what I want to show you guys. I thought it's fascinating, and then thanks to Andrea for challenging that, because now, like I said, I thought I had an answer, but when I start looking at it, I find out so many people know so much more than I did. It
Well,
humbles you.
You should ask Adrian, if he can come with specific examples of what's upsetting him, then we can look at that.
Well, but that's what I'm thinking. He says basically, I don't buy any of this. Rashi, Rambam, Rama, who do they know? So when you
So
talk,
it's dismissive, but it's.
that's why I didn't want to general.
I'd be interested to see if he has some specific complaint about something, not just, it's easy to just say, I don't believe any of it. Yeah, sure, just
Yeah,
dismiss.
but it's a good question. He should come up with it. You're right, not to generalize. And that's what I did. I kind of said, okay, what specifically don't like? Rashi says this. If Adrian says, I don't like this particular thing on Rashi, I can go to that. We can all go to analyze it. I didn't ask him this question, but I just happened to choose just in random. I took example in Rashi, just in random.
Yeah.
And I tried to.
Yeah, but then if you
look
can't
through
pin
it.
him down to specifics, then it's impossible to talk to him, because he'll just say, well, that's one example, but the rest of it, blah, blah, blah. Well, give me 4 or 5 things that you don't
Right, or
like,
at least
and then we'll
one,
look at
at
it.
least one more.
Yeah.
One more with
Then you can argue. He may not want to argue. He may just have an attitude, and he likes his attitude, and
Yeah, no, if somebody says, I don't give an example, I just don't believe in this stuff. Well, don't believe. Because, like I can tell Reuven here, Reuven, you spent 40 years as a doctor. I don't believe the liver is on the left side. I think liver is somewhere between my ears. Okay, he says left. You want to say anatomy book? I don't tell me.
I just want to add to that is that some of these people you were probably speaking to a month, some of these people spend the last 20, 30, 40 years learning 10, 11, 12 hours a day, this kind of stuff. So they probably know something, when it comes to these kind of things. And to think that they're just as, making things up or assuming things. I'm sure Rashi knew the whole Tanakh by heart, pasuk for pasuk, probably the whole Shas as well, and the whole Talmud and Zohar,
probably had a
Midrash, and everything.
photographic memory of the whole thing.
Exactly. So to think that, he was just randomly thinking things, the more you know, the more you see how he's connecting. The Rebbe was very much into Rashi and had over 800 talks for hours about the intricacies and the details in Rashi's writings and why he said specific things and not other things and questions and why, and it's fascinating. It's just the most.
The Rebbe said, studying Rashi is the wine of the